What's going on? Wednesday, Williams and Blum here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. Some of you potentially could be watching live on the YouTube.
The YouTube.
Yes. The Twitter. To quote Paul Rhodes, the face page. Remember when we said that in that press conference?
I do. Man, press conferences used to be a little more interesting.
Press conferences have really kind of lost their mojo.
Which is fine.
Yeah, well, one, the coaches don't say anything, or at least Matt doesn't. But two, it's like once we started getting Twitter and it's kind of like that Monday Night Coaches show, right? Like that used to be the only place that you could find like information because unless you had a newspaper,
right,
coming. Well, now it's like it's just constant.
It's
like,
constant information. Yeah.
Well,
how are you?
I've never been better. Never been better. Sorry, I flipped my computer on there. A little echo. No, I'm good. I'm ready for football. We are presented, of course, by MacDine, the MacDine Corporation. I'm ready for Saturday, but I'm just getting in the mode because I went to Minneapolis.
Yeah. You crushed a beer can on your head? I think you're getting too old for that. I'm just speaking
It's
for
tradition. The funny part is
you're 2-0 when you've
my
done
wife
that.
was giving me shit about that.
As she
and I go,
should.
well, that's what Carper and I do at a Vikings game. We've done that every time. We used to have season tickets. Like these people, that's what we do.
I think you age out of
Nah,
some
do you though?
habits.
You know
Well,
how
not-
I am when I get to the.
Were you in a good mental, like you look like you're having a great time.
It was awesome. So this is where I want to lead the show.
Yeah.
Is the Brock Purdy thing. Brent, I felt like I was at an Iowa State bowl game.
Seriously, because it
The
looked
amount
like
of
it
Iowa State fans there.
on social media, but I didn't know if that was just because it was who I'm following.
It was insane. Walking through like the corridor of US Bank Stadium, Iowa State gear everywhere.
Really?
Yes.
So it wasn't just Niners fans and Purdy jerseys.
No,
It was
the
Iowa
drive
State
up.
fans. Yeah,
Cyclone plates passing you.
that is so cool.
And I'm in the Cyclone Fanatic truck. So they see it and they'll throw their Purdy jersey up in the window.
Yeah.
So then, I'm starting to get a little prickly. Where's the Kene Wongwu jerseys? Why is it only Purdy?
Yeah.
Where's the Wongwu support? Why aren't people
disrespectful.
going up to watch Kene?
They're 4 hours away.
Yeah. But no, it was incredible. And you knew how big of a deal Brock Purdy was going into it, no doubt. It really hit me upside the head with how iconic he is, though, among Iowa State fans. Because so they have a really cool area outside of US Bank where there's a stage. So there's like concerts going on and there's beer gardens and there's all sorts of stuff to do. And we spent a good chunk of time right out in that area. I bumped into our old friend Adam Gray.
Yeah.
He had his whole kids. You know how big of a diehard Vikings fan is? They're all wearing Purdy jerseys.
I think but the Vikings fandom probably has taken a step back because of Purdy.
Well, I mean, I've never really had another team that I would stop my day to watch on a Sunday, but I do now.
Right.
And I'm like that with the Jets too, frankly, because I like watching Will and Brees. And I probably would be if Xavier would ever really get up there because I really just like him. He did a podcast for us. I got to know him really well. But anyways, the Purdy deal is next level.
Charts.
It is next level. It is iconic. It's Hoiberg-esque.
He might be the most popular. Well, him and Niang. Tyrese.
Niang is a different type. Niang is popular because of his charisma.
Because of his career at Iowa State. Brock's taken on another level.
Well, Purdy's doing this deal that Iowa State fans had never seen before.
That's a fact. Yep. No, you're dead on. And the crazy thing is, he's literally the lowest paid player in the NFL. For now. I think people assume, Brock Purdy's having all this success. He's only making $700,000, which again, only, right? But he's in not exactly a cheap area to live. I think he's living with a roommate. So hopefully for him, this leads to those massive. What did what is Mahomes getting? Like $50 million a year?
Next year, I think he's at $60 million a year.
60
It's on
million
an
a year.
escalator.
I mean, that is
yeah.
unbelievable difference for a guy that's been unbelievably productive. He's only at the minimum.
And I must say too, the narrative that Purdy's like toast after the last 2 weeks is crazy.
I thought he played great Monday.
He did.
The one throw got away from him.
He had one bad pass. He had the bad look where he was going down and didn't quite know what to do with the ball. One of the interceptions was on the receiver. He's without the best tackle in football and one of the 5 most explosive guys in Deebo Samuel. He's fine. You just have to go into it with Brock knowing people get weirded out by this. It's not a negative thing. It's not, he's a system guy, so he would suck anywhere else. He does happen to be playing. This is why I'm such an air raid guy. This is it. This is the reason why. Because in that system, it values accuracy and it values your brain.
Right.
And that's what he's good at. You don't need a John Elway arm to play for Kyle Shanahan. This is why the other guys didn't work. And that Brock is. So, like, if that kicker from Michigan makes that kick against the Browns, then they win last week, right? And, like, this is all so grossly exaggerated. It's the media, the national media is just, like,
they're waiting for
looking
him to fail.
for a reason to pounce on him.
Yes. He's an easy target just because he's...
And there's a reason why Kirk Cousins is playing the best football of his life. Why? Look at his coach. Look at the system. They're down the best wide receiver in football. Their tight end gets hurt every other play. And you're with a rookie wide receiver and a guy named KJ Osborne, and you're out there throwing for 480 yards or whatever it is. It's not just Brock Purdy who benefits from a system. This is why we are proponents of air raid and that type of deal.
I truly believe if Brock was a first or a second round pick and from an SEC or a Big Ten school, nobody talks about he's coming back down to earth.
Completely correct.
It's just because he's the last pick and he went to Iowa State that they're just waiting for him to fail. He's not going to fail. The guy is going to stick around for a long time and make a lot of money.
I was running through Pro Football Focus, and Brock's numbers are really good. Still, he didn't play bad the other night.
That's the thing. At what point do these guys start getting credit for being really smart and not an idiot playing quarterback? That's what we're morphing into. The game has gotten way sophisticated. It's not about how hard you throw a ball. You have to make a read before the snap.
It's like your favorite sport, baseball, right? Like analytics came into the game and it changed everything.
Well said. It's not just physical talent anymore.
No,
it's how do you absorb information?
Football's like that. That's why I like this Rocco Beck. I got a stat for you on him. I'm bringing the stats.
Man, you are prepared today. What got into you? By the way, Brock makes $870,000 with bonus applied to that as well.
I want to thank a couple of our great sponsors here before we dive into Iowa State Baylor. Gravitate Co-working. Check them out at gravitatecoworking.com. Something you could start to think about really for the new fiscal year coming up in January, if that's where your fiscal year starts, I guess. Whatever. It's a fresh start. Get the hell out of your house.
That would be a calendar year. Fiscal year.
Calendar year. The fiscal year
July to June.
But yes. Yeah. Thanks.
Academic year, August. Anyway, yes.
Whatever. For the new calendar year, perhaps you want to get a new office. Maybe you're in an office where, maybe you're at a house and your dog bothers you. Maybe you have a wife that won't leave you alone, husband that won't leave you alone. GravitateCoworking.com. Check them out. I also want to check out our friend Hope Wood. We are getting to the point in time where it's crossover season here with Iowa State Athletics. We have a lot of heartbreak, a lot of stress on your hearts. You could die of a heart attack. And if you do, your kids need to be protected. Your wife and your husband need to be protected. We would encourage you to go to hopewoodjd.com. Use the promo code FANATIC. You can get $50 off your will in a day. Iowa State versus Baylor, 2:30 Saturday. So Pro Football Focus has a stat, Brent, called turnover-worthy plays.
Whoa.
So that means bad throw, could have been picked, but didn't. So it judges.
I want to know, could we get a deep dive on this who are these people? What do they do? Like, did they pay people to do this?
Yeah, it's
Are they
like-
just watching the game? Like,
It's
is
like
it just
former,
you and me?
No, it's like former players and coaches, and they.
And I'm not. I love numbers, but who?
It
who
seems
gets to
like you're
decide?
a little bit.
It's like it seems like these Pro Football Focus things come out and it's like, oh well, this guy sucked. It's like, well,
Can I make my point about Rocco
yeah,
Becht?
sorry. Yeah.
So he has
Turnover worthy plays.
his average on the year of turnover worthy plays is 3%,
Wow,
which is pretty good
that seems pretty
for
good.
a first year quarterback. Here's what's fascinating, and I'm going to explain why it's a good thing. Against Cincinnati, which he graded out the highest that he ever has. He was like at a 77, 78%, really high. 8.7% turnover worthy plays. What does this tell us? It tells us that Nate Shieldhouse and Matt Campbell continue each and every game to give Rocco Becht more of a leash, and he's becoming more aggressive. The interesting part to me against Northern Iowa, I think it was like a 0%.
Yeah, I don't
as far
remember
as
one like difficult throw or
They weren't. They were not letting them do any of that stuff. Now they've opened up the playbook, and they're putting more trust in the quarterback. I thought that was fascinating because I was really looking into Blake Shapen, the Baylor quarterback. Really a fascinating figure. I think in the Big 12. I think talent-wise, he may be top 4.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think he's really good.
He's been excellent.
They've struggled on the offensive line. Really have struggled to run the football. What do you think about the Blake Shapen Rocco Becht matchup?
Yeah, I think similar guys. And back to our Purdy conversation, two guys that don't have huge arms, good enough, but smart. And again, not a coincidence. Going back to Rocco, talked about it this week. Iowa State is undefeated when he doesn't throw an interception. I really think for Iowa State, it is actually pretty simple. I mean, you can look at it, football is a complicated game, but for Iowa State to be successful, I love Dave Aranda's press conference, because he talks like he's a 5th grade math teacher to the press.
Dave Aranda is a very polite individual.
I appreciate that question.
Yeah, I appreciate your question.
Yeah, let me appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of your question.
But he said Iowa State plays grown-up football, which is like, I
really appreciate how they play the game.
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty good. I mean, Iowa State's doing just really grown-up things, and that they, even though they're a young team, they've done some of the margin things, or as Dave Aranda would say, the grown-up things very well this year, and that starts with taking care of the ball.
That's what Iowa State does. It wins in the margins.
Well, this year it absolutely has been the case.
Aranda and Campbell love each other. You can tell by the way they talk about one another.
It was just totally different than any other press conference you'll listen to. It's like the opposite of Dan McCarney. Where Dan's in there going, "All right,
we're gonna whoop their ass."
Yeah, Dan, that's a really reasonably thoughtful question. Thank you. No, it was. I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but yes, I do think Iowa State taking care of the ball. The quarterbacks are huge here because Iowa State hasn't lost a fumble yet. Iowa State's been really clean. The quarterback hasn't gotten pressure. The line has gotten some guff throughout this season. But the fact that Rocco's been clean is the reason why Iowa State hasn't fumbled. I mean, I can't think of really a play where he's been under duress and pulled a Deacon Hill where he fumbles the ball.
So there's a stat too that's one of my favorite stats. Like when Purdy does this more than anybody, is he'll just throw the ball away. And Rocco's, we're starting to see a little bit of that with him, and there's
good point.
It's an adjusted completion percentage where you can see that type of stuff, and that's another thing where Rocco is really that. I've been saying this a lot on the Sunday Night Pod, where Rocco's completion percentage is dropping, and I'm a big completion percentage guy.
Yep.
But what this adjusted completion percentage does is it takes away drops and it takes away throwing the football away. And if you take those out, Rocco's actually going to be right up there in that 70-75% percentile, which is exactly where we want him to be.
And then the other part that will be fascinating Saturday is if you look at Baylor, they have really struggled on run defense. And particularly, they gave up a bunch of yards to Jones, the Cincinnati quarterback, last week. You saw Rocco run it 10 times, which is by far his most as a Cyclone against Cincinnati.
5 or 6 of them designed,
I think
probably.
So.
Yeah.
And so it is how much a part of the game plan is that, because Baylor's numbers against the run are really not good. And They know that. Iowa State knows that. This game, to me, it comes down to, can Iowa State, if Iowa State's able to move them up front and stop the run, this is where Dave Aranda says Iowa State plays grown-up football. That's where they're going to win. And I think they can win this game. If Iowa State runs the ball and stops the run, I know it's a fun matchup with the Baylor receivers who are pretty good against that Iowa State secondary. But quite honestly, I think Iowa State can control the game from the get-go if it's able to run the ball. That's the number one. That and turnovers are the two biggest stats on Saturday.
Presented as always by our friends at Mechdyne, Mechdyne.com, MECHDYNE.com. We're in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Fueled as always by our friends at Cody Road. Get yourself a little Irish cream, baby, for the weekend. It's going to be cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Worth noting, though.
Let's hear it.
You're still going on the road. And Baylor has not been an easy place for Iowa State to play, a variety of reasons.
Homecoming.
Iowa State has not won there since 2017 when Marchie Murdoch was on the field for Iowa State and Kyle Kempton, the fellas.
Love the Marchie Murdoch drop.
That's right.
Yeah,
he's a podcast host for our friends at Wide Right Natty Light.
Shout out to
What's
Marchie.
up, March?
Baylor, I do believe, so I was dead wrong. I jumped the gun on them in August a little too early. I was a believer in some of the transfers probably when I should have taken a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I think Aranda's a really good coach. Him and Campbell remind me so much of one another, just the way they go about the whole program, culture. They're
very similar.
Very similar. There's a reason why both of these guys, when you watch their press conferences, I remember Aranda, after they won the Big 12 last year, going into that game saying, well, we framed our program off of Campbell and Iowa State. And then you watch Campbell yesterday and Aranda, and they both say something similar. The thing that I think is important to point out after this bye week, so Baylor, depending on how you want to look at things, there's a full and empty, glass half full, glass half empty way to look at this. But they have to have this massive comeback at UCF. And you could say, well, they were fortunate to do that. Or I could say, well, they played like crap in the first half and they're actually way better than UCF.
Yep.
I did notice a change in that team when they went to Cincinnati. I am a believer that Iowa State's catching Baylor at a worse time than a lot of these teams are. I think this team is on the upward trajectory. It's the
same thing that you'd rather play Iowa State after the Iowa game than you do now. I mean, yes. I didn't realize, because you think Baylor's been around and the line returned most everybody. Apparently they're pretty young across the board.
They are.
And so you're seeing them get older, and both of these teams,
especially on defense.
Both these teams are playing their best football right now. And so I think this is a momentum game for each. I think both staffs probably feel pretty good about where their teams are as of the second. Now, you don't know until Saturday, but there's no question that Iowa State and Baylor are feeling pretty good, coincidentally both coming off wins at Cincinnati.
In which Iowa State's was more impressive.
It was. Because here's where I keep coming back to it. The run defense for Baylor has just not been good in any game, like in zero games.
Aranda, if you watch his press conference, like he stressed that too. Like that was his big deal, that he was like, key to this game is being able to stop Iowa State's run. They're
allowing 5.2 yards per carry, which is a bunch. Like that is a lot of yards. And they gave up 6.7 yards per carry against Cincinnati. Now, part of that is Cincinnati does run the ball okay. It's just this isn't a game for the Iowa State offensive line. I think this is a progress game. Cincinnati's D-line was pretty good. Iowa State moved the ball okay, but this is an opportunity where you control the line of scrimmage, and I think this game could seed up being something like 27-13 Iowa State. This is a game. I don't think Iowa State wants to get in a track meet here. I think you try and just pound away and control this thing old school style.
Iowa State opened, depending on where you look, it was a really weird line. Some books came out with Iowa State as a slight favorite, some a slight dog. It has settled as Iowa State is a 2.5 point favorite in most spots.
That's really interesting.
Signaling that the overwhelming majority of sharp and big money is on the Cyclones here.
And again, I think it comes down to everyone sees that run defense.
And to your credit, you pointed this out on Sunday night. All of the analytics, S&P,
Yeah, all.
They all favor Iowa State in this game.
Yes.
Where are you at on Shapen? Because I think I'm probably I maybe was too high on him, but I think he's really, really good. The one thing I like about it though is if you want to go strength on strength, and they haven't really shown the ability to run the football. In fact, if you it's generally a bad sign, and we've done this before. But if your team is talking about passing to open up the run, it's generally not
not
good.
The same thing.
Yeah, it's not a great sign. But you're hearing a lot about that. So I guess where I'm at is Haycock's been really good over the years against one-dimensional type teams. I don't know, because again, they mixed up their whole line. Okay,
Right.
Their offensive line, it's like week 2 for them, the way they screwed around with this thing after their bye week.
Yep.
So I'm expecting they're going to take a jump in some capacity. And Cincinnati has a really good run defense.
Yes.
Really good defensive line, probably third best defensive line in the conference, unless you want to maybe throw Iowa State into the mix against the run, I think for sure. I don't necessarily know pass rushing wise if I put the Cyclones right there yet. I guess where are you at on Shapen and these Baylor weapons? They have some wide receivers, but I don't necessarily know if I think they're better than Iowa State's secondary.
I don't. Yeah, and that's going to be the matchup. I think Shapen's really good. I mean, you look at his numbers. He was awesome in Ames last year. I remember thinking, gosh, this guy's got some juice. Like last year in Ames, 19 of 26, 3 touchdowns, 240, and 0 interceptions. When he's had problems in his career, it's when he's making mistakes. All of that has been last year, though. So he missed some games this year. They lost them both.
Yeah.
This year, though, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's been sacked, though, C-Dub, 15 times in 4 games. That is a bunch. So this is a game, if he does throw, and if he has to drop back and throw it 35, 40 times, which I think is probably likely, is it Ezeagu? I mean, one of those D linemen, is it Lovett from that as a blitzer? I would say it's going to need to get pressure on him. The secondary is great, but you cannot expect those guys to cover. That's where Oklahoma beat them.
This is an Ezeagu game.
This is an Ezeagu game. This might be the Ike Ezeagu game.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the Peterson game. I'm not sure. Maybe Dom Orange.
Well, if I'm looking at an opponent that's passing 75% of the time like Baylor is, you get your blitzers in there.
Yeah, because I think Ezeagu has mainly played on pass rush downs.
And his numbers are phenomenal,
they
on
keep
those.
Going up.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Shapen is the key.
We need our friends at Sporting KC to start a fund to keep Ike Ezeagu around.
He's a Kansas. So we're working on it. Well done. He's a Kansas City area guy. So yeah, Shapen, and Rocco obviously will tell the story. So thank you for mentioning Ike. You're a man of the plugs. So
you act like this is my first rodeo.
We will just signed a partnership deal with Sporting KC. If you can see on
this
YouTube.
Is cool, man.
This is really cool. So this is super smart on their end. So they're working with all the regional school collectives, and so they're going to sponsor up to a half dozen Cyclone student athletes that are from the Kansas City area.
Which
so
we have a lot of.
A bunch of them. We're still trying to figure out who, and not just soccer, but maybe in soccer, but football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and their goal is to increase their reputation across the upper Midwest by supporting the passionate fan bases in college. So
I'll tell you this.
It's the awesome people, a lot of Cyclones at Sporting KC. Playoff game tonight. Apparently they have a phrase called paint the wall. That's what we're supposed to say.
At this point in my life, I've never had a favorite MLS team.
Do you have one now?
I do now.
Yes.
I'm a Sporting KC guy.
Sporty. But anyway, they got a lot of Iowa Staters there, so they'll be working with us, hopefully to help out the Ike Ezeagus of the world.
Do a little, if our friends at Sporting KC are paying attention, could we get something for the studio?
Oh, I know a guy.
Something to hang up here in the studio.
Let's do it.
Get you some exposure.
Yep.
We'll make it work. We have a lot of room for stuff.
I think the Cyclone fan base needs an MLS team, right?
Yeah.
I think we just figured it out.
I agree.
It's a partnership match made in heaven, Sporty. Really good people. So thank you for bringing that up. And they play tonight in the playoffs.
All right, we'll get into our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment here to wrap up the show. I want to thank our friends at Kelderman Manufacturing, kelderman.com. We had one of our great farmers, perhaps a Wiffles customer, went in and bought a down corn reel from Kelderman last week. That's great. It means it's working. It's the best place for your advertising dollar. We humbly tell you that. No, it's the truth. You should go buy some Cody Road at the same time. Kelderman Manufacturing, kelderman.com. If you're out there harvesting, getting close to being harvest, getting close to being complete. But hey, it's like I always talk with my farmer friends. Shit breaks.
It does.
That's where our friends at Kelderman Manufacturing in Oskaloosa come in.
You just hope when shit breaks, you don't need Hopewood.
You hope you don't need Hopewood.
Something really broke.
Well, if your heart breaks, at least your kids are going to have their college paid for.
That's right.
That's how I look at it.
Shouldn't laugh at that.
Just such a morbid read. But it's true. Why else would you get a will? You're worried about dying. That's the only reason to get a will.
You want to prepare
for death.
For death, yeah.
You're worried about dying. If you weren't worried about dying, there'd be no reason to have a will. But we all die. Everybody here is going to die.
Somebody once told me death is undefeated.
HopewoodJT.com.
That's our new slogan.
All right, Hope, we're doubling your invoice.
Death is undefeated. Death
is undefeated. Your children don't have to be. Protect your children.
Here you go.
I don't know.
Here you go, Hope. Death doesn't need to steal signs like Jim Harbaugh.
How dumb is that guy?
How dumb is Harbaugh for letting it happen?
Well, okay.
He's not going to get suspended. Michigan is going to... Here's what's going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to let this thing play out because Michigan's the odds-on favorite to win a national championship, and Michigan brand is good for television. So they're not going to get in trouble this year. I think they put the hammer on him for next year, though. I really do.
He'll go to the NFL,
and he will.
He's going to be like at the Bears or
of all the things. You can't do that. You cannot. That should not be allowed.
It can fall on Harbaugh because he's the head coach. My point is, how stupid is this guy when he's buying all these tickets to use his real name?
Right, and using Venmo Public.
Yeah, why wouldn't you go onto StubHub and just buy it under your mom's name?
Unbelievably dumb. That's why
he's so stupid. These guys,
they all should be in trouble for being an idiot.
Wiffles Hybrids presents our Big 12
apparently
segment.
Did not scout TCU though.
Zach, shout out to our guy Zach. He's watching on YouTube. Loves all the Kansas City shout outs.
We got Brad G over down in the Chiefs.
Yeah, we got a lot.
I mean, basically Kansas City is
Taylor Thummel
for the
longest time.
Yep.
She worked with the Chiefs and then with Sprint Center down there. What is it? T-Mobile now? I don't even know. These companies.
Yeah, we're just look out.
She is the one responsible for the espresso bar at the media area of the Big 12 tournament.
Here you go.
That may or may not have been put in place for
just
this
for you guy. Just for that guy.
In my coffee addiction.
You know, we got Travis Kelce wearing Cyclone heads.
Jeez. I'm over it. We'll talk about him at another time. Just living off of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest athletes of all time. This Kelce.
So you're saying Kelce's needs to thank Patrick Mahomes for the Taylor Swift thing?
I don't know about her. I'm talking about
But if he's
watching games the other night, 3 Travis Kelce commercials in a row. Come on.
Okay, let me ask you this:
if you play beside Kirk Cousins,
what if you're would Charlie Kohler be able to date Taylor Swift?
I think Charlie's a good-looking man.
What I'm saying, but if Mahomes was his quarterback, anyway, Charlie was active last week, but
good,
had some blocks.
Big 12 schedule. We are stacked at 11 a.m. So get the 3 TVs rolling. You've got Oklahoma at Kansas, Houston at Kansas State, West Virginia at UCF.
And those are all on
Fox, ESPN2, FS1.
Because Iowa State's the ESPN Plus. Are we
Iowa
aware
State's
of that?
the ESPN Plus. Yeah, so if you're...
Yeah.
Don't tweet at me at 2:30 asking what channel the game is on.
Yep.
There's a few things that come off as more annoying. You can Google it. You can go to ESPN.com. You can go to Cyclones.com. It's not my job to tell you what channel the game is on, so I'm telling you right now. It's on ESPN Plus. You're going to have the app. You're going to have to watch it online. Is that too harsh?
No, I mean, you're just not going to respond to people if they ask you.
Yeah, I mean, this was a thing like 3-4 years ago where you felt like obligated. Like, guys, streaming is here.
Yeah, we're beyond
like,
it.
we're here. If you haven't figured out ESPN Plus yet, get ready. Buckle up.
And
Buckle up.
Just on the TV front, the game next week and the homecoming game in Ames, still no
Correct.
television.
They 6-dayed that, unfortunately.
I have a suspicion. I don't know anything. I think Iowa State I've heard Iowa State is lobbying for a night game. Not that Iowa State has a say here.
So that would almost mean, I haven't looked at but wouldn't that mean you're probably ESPN Plusing that?
Nope.
Or FS1? They have a
Probably,
night?
I think there's an FS1 slot because that would be World Series Game 7. A lot of that's dictated by that.
Oh,
'Cause
that's
they'd
why
have
all
to
those
move.
games got
Yes.
6-dayed.
Because Fox has the World Series. That'd be Game 7 though.
Who would have better ratings? Iowa State, Kansas, or the Diamondbacks? And who the hell are they playing?
They're playing the Rangers.
Is that going to be the worst rated World Series of all time?
I don't think it's going to do great. The
I
baseball's
can't
gotta
even
be
name
upset.
a player for the Diamondbacks.
Well,
Zach
seriously?
Greinke still there?
Oh my gosh, no.
Randy Johnson?
Corbin Carroll going to win National League Rookie of the Year. He's
Corbin
going to
Carroll, that's
run away
right.
with it.
Is that your team?
He's an
It's my
athlete.
playoff team because they eliminated the Cubs.
Is Kurt Schilling still throwing?
There's no Luis Gonzalez.
The video,
Craig Counsell.
Aiden, if you can pull up the video, you make my day, of Randy Johnson pitching
Killing the
and
bird.
hitting that bird. You should be able to find it. It's one of the most iconic sports. And this bird just explodes. It's one of the coolest things you'll ever see.
That would have been like 04.
Keith says on the coaches show last night that Pollard mentioned he was pushing for a night game.
See,
There you go.
sources. The sources line up.
Bloom is locked in.
Locked in. Who do I know? Randy Johnson Bird. That happened in what year?
Here we go. He's got it right here on the TV.
Okay.
Look at this.
Look at this.
All right, Randy Johnson steps back. Boom!
Never gets
Show it again. Show it again. Steps back. Pitch on the way.
Oh, slow-mo.
Slow motion.
Boom! The odds of that on that are astronomical. So that happened March of 2001. That was pre 9/11.
That's like the odds of the bird
What?
flying into the engine of the airplane.
Here, this makes me feel old because I remember when this happened. Why does footage from the early 2000s look like it's from the 1960s?
Because we didn't have high def.
My
I remember
gosh.
taking a class at Iowa State. I believe you were in it. It was on broadcast quality,
Yes.
and you had one of the first high definition TVs ever put to market.
I did. Everyone come over to my apartment.
We always got like WrestleMania at your
Yep.
place
Yeah.
because we could watch HD
It
TV.
was the coolest thing ever. This was 2006.
But that's why, like,
And that TV was like 8,000.
anything pre HD just looks so
Horrible.
archaic.
How do
Connor
we-
and I, when they show the old like Knoxville National videos, and like you can't even tell like what color the car is. It's color television.
How did we watch it?
We didn't know any different.
Huh?
We didn't know any better.
Jim Harbaugh could not steal the signs back in the day because he couldn't see the pixels enough.
All these people are jealous of Harbaugh. I think it comes down to that. But he's so much better of a coach than they are. I'm kidding, people. I don't know. I do want to learn more about this though, because like it's really fast.
Best part is
it seems so dumb the way that they didn't do anything to cover it up.
no. So did you see Andy Staples' tweet? About
Did they
this?
know they were breaking rules? Is what I'm asking.
They had to know. So Andy Staples had.
Are they that dumb?
I don't think he cares. I think he's legitimately like, "Come after me, NCAA, I dare you." I think that's what it comes. It's just bravado at this
Well, I
point.
mean, look at
'Cause
what
he can
Kansas
leave whenever he
basketball
wants.
got away with.
Yeah. 100%.
Speaking of the NCAA, real quick tidbit, I put a big piece on Premium yesterday. There might be a meeting going on today or tomorrow. If you're an Iowa State wrestling fan and even like an Iowa wrestling fan, more changes coming potentially to the gambling stuff, which could impact eligibility for wrestlers. And even like Deshaun Hanukkah would be in that mix. And then Noah Shannon over at Iowa in football.
About time.
But we don't know. Like from what I understand, you can go read the full report. I'm not going to get all into it. But there's like competing entities within the I have figured it out. The NCAA is like Congress, where they have all these committees.
So many committees.
And nobody knows what any of them actually do.
Nobody's in charge.
The rest of your Big 12 schedule here were presented by Wiffles, BYU at Texas.
That's interesting.
It's interesting because no Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. But no Arch either. It's going to be the other guy.
Sorry, just kicked Aiden's camera. I apologize if that messed with you on YouTube. Iowa State Baylor 2:30 as well. Cincinnati at Oklahoma State were the red hot Cowboys. Is Cincinnati potentially going to go winless?
Ooh.
I'm going to read off their schedule here the rest of the way. The under on Cincinnati looking real good right now.
And it looked dicey there for a little bit.
So they get UCF at home.
I don't know.
They have to go to Houston, at West Virginia, Kansas at home. I will say this, too.
I don't know.
Houston did great last week, but they were playing against Texas. You can go to that Cincinnati-Houston game for $4 right now. These new Big 12 schools, minus BYU, you're fine. You've always been deserving of a seat at the big boy table.
And that's in Houston,
Yes.
Cincinnati.
These other new Big 12 schools are absolutely disappointments when it comes to their crowds. And I was worried about that. But now we have the Pac-12 like, oh, my God, there's nobody at this Stanford game. Can't make that joke anymore.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that now, like, oh, you're in the big leagues, that you're going to go and support it?
Again, but here's the problem is when you're in the American or whatever they've been in and you win all the time and now you get to a league where you're going to lose a lot.
It's a great point.
People are used to winning. They don't like losing. For Iowa State, it's like...
That's why I've been trying to tell Iowa fans with this new Big Ten. You don't have the Big Ten West anymore.
No, I honestly...
Like, y'all are bitching about going 10-2. Have fun at 6-6.
And for Iowa State, it's the opposite.
Correct.
As the schedule eases, hey, don't talk to me about the schedule easing next year. Like, so be it. Good for Iowa State then. Iowa State has played the hardest schedule really for the last 15 years. So yeah, I would say good that you get a break. And Chris, just think about this. If Iowa State starts winning in this new league 8, 9, 10 games a year, the support from the fan base has been incredible. It's
going to go nuts.
That's what happens. And Iowa State fans are at the point where, sure, will they come to a Texas or an Oklahoma game because it's Texas and Oklahoma? There's some of that. But you're not telling me that place is going to get banged out at 61,500, even if it's just UCF coming to town if Iowa State's playing to win 10 games? Absolutely. Like, I am telling you, there's never been, I firmly believe this, the future for Iowa State has never been brighter than at this very second.
This is coming directly from the bagman.
I think I am extremely bullish about the future. That said, says the bagman, next 5 weeks, we still need.
Here we go.
We still need some help to keep everybody intact. Everybody gets this. Everybody understands it. It's a fact. But
Steve Kemp just goes, Blum's setting up a we will pitch, isn't he?
No, but I'm telling you that things are going really well. From where we were 18 months ago to now, things are going well. But we got to keep it rolling, keep the momentum.
Frankie wants to know if back in the day, could we see invalid signals on the TV?
Well, they could on replay, but there wasn't a replay. Do you remember the game 2005? You may not remember this.
I remember every game. I can tell you what I did that night.
got completely boned in Missouri in Columbia in 2005 because there was no replay. And I think it was Greg Coleman. Somebody had scored a
minute. Time out.
touchdown.
Missouri?
Missouri 2005.
I thought Missouri played. Oh, that 2004 was the Brad Banks game, the Chase Daniel game, and that was in.
No, 2005 was. It wasn't Brad Banks. It was
Chase Daniel.
Brad Smith.
Brad Smith.
Brad Smith.
Banks was the former Iowa quarterback. Okay.
No, that was. But in that game, Iowa State had 2 touchdowns that should have counted that didn't get reviewed or something because replay wasn't really around yet. Anyway, look it up. Horrible circumstance, and I blame the lack of pixelation in regular TV for that case.
You've been a strong proponent of high definition for a very long time.
I was one of the first adopters.
I remember, though, when we were in college and you had that giant-ass tube HD TV.
Oh, it's massive.
We would watch things just because it was in HD. It's like, oh my
didn't
God,
matter. Like the
we're going to watch
Discovery
this
Channel.
documentary
Yes.
on starfish.
Yes.
Guys, there's the Oklahoma game on. No, we're watching this. It's in HD.
Somebody back me up. Somebody has to remember that Missouri game in 2005 where Iowa State got
That was in Ames. That wasn't in.
No, you're thinking about 04.
Yeah.
Lost
okay.
two-
Yeah, that was
yeah.
the one where 36,000 people showed up to win the Big 12.
Yes, that was a year prior. 2005, down in Columbia, Iowa State got completely hosed by replay, or the lack of replay.
Is
Pretty
it
confident.
similar to the West Virginia game last year? Or 2 years?
2 years ago. Was. Yeah, talk about bad breaks. Man,
That was
it was rough.
I felt like just got
speaking
highway
of that,
robbery in that.
does anybody, who are the announcers for Saturday?
I mean, how you think we're gonna have our friend?
Or because that was you said the West Virginia game. Remember,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
Brandon Whedon and Courtney.
Courtney. I just remember her name is Courtney.
Courtney. Are you pulling it up?
I'm trying. I don't think Matt sent out the deal yet.
Oh, was our guy Sean Kinney?
That's who we got this week.
I hope so. He did the Cincinnati.
Connor, can you
Baylor
find
game.
out who's
Yeah.
doing the play-by-play this?
Let's figure that
All
out,
right,
Connor.
yeah, Connor's working on
We've
that
got
right
the
now
staff.
for us.
We got the staff on it.
All right. Well, good show. We appreciate it. We will be back on Sunday night. We will have our Nebraska Furniture Mart's Picks Pod with Tim Mullen coming up as well. I will have my social media preview for the game with my final prediction. I'll pick the Iowa State win here. But I think that I would caution, you can always tell the fan base's temperature by how they react when I post the point spread.
Oh, we have Mark Neely and Barrett Brooks. Okay. I like Mark Neely. He does a nice
Thank
job.
you, Connor.
He does a lot of ESPN.
You
Plus
can
stuff.
always tell the temperature of the fan base by when I post the point spread and their reaction.
This one was
Because after, like, when the team's doing well, oh, that's it? You know, oh, that's disrespect. This is great. Which I don't think the fans truly realize it's not a bunch of guys sitting around being like, oh,
Yeah.
let's make them an underdog.
right.
It's not how it goes. Or when the team sucks. So let's say Iowa State loses by 2 touchdowns to Baylor and you're all pissed off on Sunday night. It doesn't matter what the number is.
Right.
Comes out against Kansas. That's it?
That's it. What are you talking about?
They've been watching the games? The reaction to Iowa State being a 1.5 underdog to open to Baylor, you would have thought
Really? I didn't look. I didn't see
you
it.
would have thought that SEMO was favored by 2 touchdowns over the Cyclones. And I'm going to tap your brakes. Team's playing really well. I like Iowa State here too. But I would not be surprised if this is a fourth quarter game that
absolutely.
could go either way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's turnovers, stop the run. Who does that better? Turnovers and stopping the run. And hopefully nothing weird happens in Waco like it always does. Weird things happen in Waco. So let's just embrace that. Like, there's going to be something that happens in that game. We're like, what the heck? Because that's just what happens.
It's homecoming there.
And it's homecoming. Do you know who's going to be there then?
Scott Drew,
Yes.
our guy Chip and Joanne.
Yes. So, quick story. This is,
You-
again, my younger years. Do we have
You should
time?
do an NIL deal with Chip.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's part of the Baylor Collective. I'm not
Pretty sure
joking.
he's funding the whole damn thing, probably.
Fixer upper. So 2013 was the bad game. That was the John Walters Eric Heft, 70-7, legendary audio. So it was a night game. So this is my younger years. So I was 28, 29. And so Ben Bruns and I had a pretty good night the night before. Pretty good.
We've all
night.
done that in Waco time
yeah,
or two.
It's just, and we were staying
Do
downtown.
not talk to them about Koresh. They get
Yeah,
really
let's not
offended
do
in
that.
that. I've done that in that town, and they all get so mad.
So we were at the bar late into the evening because you get a night game. This is what you did when you were
Is
young.
it that one right across from the hotel?
Yeah, it was
like the Cowboy Bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great bar.
Great
Good
place.
food. Great beer.
So this is back when the football team used to stay in Waco at this rinky-dink it was literally a motel.
It's same spot like basketball stays, right?
No, this because Baylor.
Oh,
would
I'm
stay-
thinking of a different place.
Yeah,
Then. Okay.
this was they bulldozed this thing after this year.
Okay.
It's bad. It was bad news because as John Walter said, every cockroach in Waco was in his room, and he was serious. But so anyway, we have a long night. We crash probably 1 or 2 in the morning. At 7 in the morning is this godforsaken Baylor homecoming parade led by Chip and Joanna Gaines, and I'm hurting, and I couldn't sleep right outside our motel.
Oh, that's brutal.
It's bad news. So I have a distaste.
Boy, that Chip and Joanne though, they've done good things for Waco. Like they kind of honestly, like
you're great.
back in the day, you used to think of Waco and you'd think of
Koresh.
yeah,
Yeah.
you thought of the Colt.
Now
Now you think of that Magnolia joint that they got going on down there.
What do you think of? You think of them or Kim Mulkey first when you think of?
Oh, I think of Chip,
Yeah.
Joanne. That's what
Do
I
we
think
like
of.
we like Baylor? When you like Scott Drew, you seem to
Love
like
Scott Drew.
You seem to like Aranda now.
I like Orlando a lot. Did you see Bryles got let off of the
I did see
lawsuit? Him and the athletic director both did. Not giving you an opinion. Don't send me your hate tweets. I'm just reporting the facts. They got let off on that. I thought,
And you seem to have a good relationship with your guy, Smoke.
yeah, Smokey. I love him. I love the Smokes.
So
I don't hate Baylor.
do we not hate Baylor
Now
anymore?
we had a real problem there a few years.
We did
ago.
have a major
when basically like the police department was
Yeah,
covering up
that-
rapes.
We're not
allegedly.
We're not doing that.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Problem with all of that, but like I think
we
they
didn't
cleaned
like
it
Matt.
up.
We didn't like Matt Rule.
I love this new AD down there. He's like a legit leader in the Big 12. He's with Pollard. Like those two guys are at the front of the pack.
If Aiden plays a video real quick, will the podcast listeners hear it?
yeah.
Aiden, can you find the sound off fight between Baylor and Iowa State in 2018 with David Montgomery? With
Oh my God, yeah.
with was it Colin Newell? No, it was Kniffel. Kniffel
And it was
thought
like
he was ejected.
Stone Cold Steve
Stone
Austin.
Cold Steve Austin music. One of the more legendary moments in Iowa State Baylor history.
I'm not a fan of the gal that replaced Mulkey. She kind of lost me at the Big 12 championship game last year against Iowa State.
Oh, and this
She's like running up and down the sidelines,
what is
yelling
her
and
name?
cursing.
Yeah.
So I'm still not a big women's basketball guy there.
But you like Drew. You legitimately like Scott Drew. It's not an
I
act,
like
right?
him. What's your problem with him? Too much success? Just too authentic for you?
I just don't know. There just seems like
You got a
it's-
problem with his belief
it's
in
the
Christ?
same- no, it's nothing to do with religion.
Okay.
It seems a little bit to me, and maybe it's legitimate. It seems a lot like why Phil Mickelson gives me problems, because nobody can be that reasonably liked and feel good guy. And it turns out I was right about Phil Mickelson. Bad guy.
Drew gave me an awesome interview for the book. For real.
Did he really?
Yeah, it's already done. Like he was so gracious with
But
his
I
time.
like Dave Aranda. I
just
legitimately think I like
Drew.
Dave Aranda.
My favorite thing about Drew is for so long he was the butt of all your jokes. Oh, the guy takes bad
I know.
timeouts and he's a sucky coach, and like he has been a mainstay for 20 years in that sport.
It's really an unbelievable deal that what
He
he's
took
pulled
over.
off.
Boom. There were guys murdering each
know.
other. What do you know? They had this Colt.
It's pretty crazy.
There's guys killing each other. They couldn't even play like the non-conference that one year.
Yeah, they didn't. They got
It's in
suspended.
Waco. You don't
They
even
got
have
suspended.
hotels there.
They did not have. The Iowa State does not stay in Waco anymore. Aiden, you have the video? Okay.
All right, watch
There
this
you go.
video
This is
here.
glorious. Credit.
We got tag team matchup.
What a night
goodness,
that was.
That was an all-timer. Who was the quarterback there that Brewer? God, it seemed like he was there for 8 years.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, good show.
I think we both like Iowa State here, but
I
not
do too.
crazy.
Yeah, I don't go crazy.
Yeah.
Still a road game.
Still a road game against a team that is ascending. It's not a team that's going the other way.
Right.
Like, I'd really love to play Cincinnati right now.
I think so.
I wouldn't want to play Oklahoma State or Baylor. Bad timing there, but they still haven't really beaten anybody or done anything either. You have to take that into consideration. All right, he's Brent Blum, Aiden Wyatt producing the show as always. Thanks to you all who watched us here live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Of course, you can listen to the show on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. We are presented as always by Mechdine, signing off from the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Don't forget, go and buy yourself some Iowa cream. It's going to be cold this weekend. Y'all going to be doing some trick-or-treating. You can act like you're drinking coffee and put Iowa cream in it. It's genius. Maybe a little sprinkle of the Cody Road as well. I'm Chris Williams. Have a great weekend. Later.